Tonight for embattled Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. The law firm representing Henyard and the village of Dolton in a slew of lawsuits is asking to withdraw from those cases.
A Cook County court has reversed some of Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's decisions. It ruled Henyard's appointment of Michael Smith as executive assistant was not valid. The special
A viral video released by a local lawyer has sparked outrage in Dolton, alleging that Mayor Tiffany Henyard engaged in a pattern of power abuse by using blackmail tactics to coerce board members into supporting her agenda, threatening to expose their personal information if they refused. Described as shocking evidence of misconduct, the footage has been turned over to state and federal investigators. The revelations have triggered widespread condemnation, with residents expressing frustration and calling for Henyard's resignation. The anonymous lawyer, citing security concerns, emphasized that Henyard's alleged actions violate both legal and ethical standards, a sentiment echoed by community members who have lost trust in her administration as pressure mounts for her to face accountability. Once celebrated, Mayor Tiffany Henyard's political career now faces intense scrutiny and mounting legal challenges. Her troubles escalated during a recent court appearance, where a judge issued a stern warning against making unapproved appointments to key village positions. Among these controversial appointments was Ron Burrow, a former mayor and her opponent in the 2021 mayoral race, whom she named police chief. The court responded by issuing a temporary restraining order, barring Henyard from bypassing trustee approval for such appointments. While she was not held in contempt, the judge warned that future violations could result in serious consequences. Adding to the scandal are allegations of financial mismanagement and corruption, with reports accusing Henyard of misusing public funds for personal expenses on platforms like Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair. Investigations revealed a sharp financial decline in Dolton, with the village's general fund reportedly $365 million below its April 2022 level by May 2024. Serious concerns about Mayor Tiffany Henyard's management of public funds have intensified following revelations of significant financial discrepancies. Investigations uncovered that Henyard allegedly used $56,000 in government funds for personal expenses, including a reservation fee for her mother. Further reports accuse her of embezzling an estimated $5.6 million to upgrade a lavish property in a newly developed neighborhood. The FBI is said to have compiled a comprehensive dossier detailing her alleged corrupt activities, which includes personnel and disciplinary records for 29 Dolton employees. Henyard's tenure as Dolton's first female and youngest mayor initially inspired optimism, but her leadership soon became entangled in scandal. Her appointment as supervisor of Thornton Township in 2022 only fueled suspicions of a conflict of interest, especially after she allowed Chief Keith Freeman to simultaneously serve as police chief and hold a position in the township, raising further doubts about her governance practices. Allegations of extravagant spending have further damaged Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reputation. Reports reveal that she used taxpayer dollars to fund personal luxuries, including payments for a hairstylist, private jet travel, and a personal security detail. During a 5-day trip to Austin in July 2022, Henyard's group allegedly spent over $220,000, which included $1,290 at the upscale Fairmont Austin Hotel and $389 at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, all at the expense of Dolton taxpayers. These expenditures sparked public outrage, especially as they occurred amid the village's growing debt crisis. Critics argue that the revelations point to a broader pattern of reckless and self-serving behavior. From lavish spending to allegations of coercion and unapproved appointments, Henyard's leadership has come under intense scrutiny, with accusations of systemic mismanagement and unethical practices threatening to overshadow her tenure. Activists and officials are calling for thorough investigations to ensure accountability and restore public trust in Dolton's leadership. Despite the seriousness of the allegations, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has remained largely silent, reportedly withdrawing from public view as the scandals mount. What began as a promising political career has unraveled into a cautionary tale of mismanagement and corruption, overshadowing any achievements from her tenure. Disillusioned residents are now demanding change and greater transparency. As investigations continue, the spotlight remains fixed on Henyard and her administration. The whistleblower video, combined with evidence of financial misconduct and questionable appointments, portrays a leader accused of exploiting public resources for personal gain. While legal proceedings move forward, the community anxiously awaits answers and justice for the alleged abuses of power that have come to define Henyard's time in office.
just read in those complaints with the Illinois Department of Human Rights?
I'm appalled. I'm literally sitting here shaking because I cannot believe that something like this has taken.
Political turmoil in Dolton has reached a boiling point as Mayor Tiffany Henyard faces a growing web of allegations involving financial mismanagement, corruption, and abuse of power. The controversy has triggered widespread community outrage, board investigations, and escalating calls for accountability. Recent developments have exposed troubling patterns of misconduct that have eroded public trust in her leadership. Among the most alarming issues is the disappearance of 6 police vehicles, a loss Trustee Councilman Byrd described as a critical failure, comparable to losing officers themselves. The incident follows reports that Henyard prioritized funding for her personal security detail over essential community needs, further straining her relationship with both residents and trustees. In response, community members are demanding a comprehensive investigation into Henyard's financial activities within the township, with many calling for immediate action to address the growing scandal. During a public demonstration titled "Take Our Township Back," Dolton residents voiced their frustrations, accusing Mayor Tiffany Henyard of a lack of accountability and transparency. Trustee Kiana Vuer emphasized concerns about mismanagement, calling for clarity on how taxpayer funds are being allocated. Critics also raised alarms over Henyard's role as the sole signatory for township financial decisions, a move many viewed as a dangerous concentration of power. Scrutiny intensified in March 2024 when the Dolton Board launched an investigation into allegations that Henyard embezzled $67,000 in taxpayer funds. The funds were reportedly used to cover personal travel expenses, including out-of-town trips, and to pay police overtime for her personal security detail. These revelations fueled widespread criticism from community members and local officials, portraying a troubling pattern of financial abuse. Henyard, however, has dismissed the allegations as personal attacks, claiming she is being unfairly targeted by what she describes as the boys' club of Dolton politics. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's defiance has done little to quell growing discontent, as each new scandal further damages her reputation. One of the most glaring instances of financial mismanagement came during a recent board meeting, where Henyard admitted that Village Hall faced a $2 million deficit. Board members, however, argued that the actual deficit was far greater than she disclosed. Former trustee Edward Steve emphasized that while Henyard may attempt to shift blame for the village's financial crisis onto others, she must ultimately be held accountable for her actions, a sentiment echoed by other board members and community leaders. Among her most vocal critics is Valerie Stubbs, a former trustee who accused Henyard of inciting tensions and silencing dissent. Stubbs claimed that Henyard abused her authority to manipulate residents, employees, and vendors for personal and political gain. The conflict with Stubbs is seen as a reflection of the broader issues plaguing Henyard's administration, as calls for accountability continue to mount. Valerie Stubbs revealed that a former assistant to Mayor Henyard faced mistreatment after reporting unethical behavior by a trustee aligned with Henyard. Instead of addressing the complaint, Henyard allegedly placed the assistant on unpaid medical leave before ultimately firing her. This pattern of retaliation against critics has only deepened public distrust. In another high-profile incident, Henyard called a special board meeting to address ongoing controversies, but the meeting quickly turned into a one-sided monologue. Henyard declared, "I'm here to provide some updates, but no questions or comments will be accepted." This heavy-handed approach has drawn sharp criticism from both residents and officials, who view it as indicative of her increasingly authoritarian leadership style. Additionally, Henyard's reputation for extravagant spending has been called into question. In July 2022, she and her staff took a 5-day trip to Austin, Texas, costing taxpayers over $220,000. Expenses from Henyard's trip to Austin, Texas, included $1,290 for accommodations at the luxury Fairmont Austin Hotel and $389 for dining at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, sparking outrage, especially given Dolton's multi-million-dollar debt. Further reports allege that Henyard used township credit cards for personal purchases, including items from Amazon, Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair. In one instance, she allegedly spent $56,000 in government funds to reserve a driveway for her mother. These revelations have led residents and board members to demand stronger oversight of public funds, with some trustees pushing for limits on credit card use and tighter financial controls. However, these measures have done little to resolve the broader systemic issues within Henyard's administration. Henyard's financial controversies extend beyond public funds, with her personal business dealings also under scrutiny. In August 2019, a property owned by Henyard and subsidized through Section 8 housing was deemed uninhabitable due to severe mold infestations and water leaks. Tenants of a property owned by Mayor Henyard and subsidized through Section 8 housing reported unresolved complaints about severe mold infestations and water leaks, despite Henyard continuing to collect subsidies. These housing issues have further tarnished her reputation, raising doubts about her integrity and commitment to public service. Henyard's tenure has also been marred by political infighting and fractured alliances. Initially, she enjoyed the support of trustees Kiana Beller and Jason House, as well as village clerk Allison Key, but these relationships quickly deteriorated, resulting in a divided board that has frequently clashed with the mayor. Tensions reached a boiling point in February 2022 during a heated meeting where Henyard accused trustees of conspiring against her. This adversarial dynamic has fueled public skepticism about her leadership abilities. By April 2022, the village board intensified its opposition by filing a lawsuit against Henyard, accusing her of corruption and misuse of tax revenues. In response, Henyard adopted a defensive stance, claiming the allegations were part of a larger conspiracy to discredit her. The ongoing legal battle has further divided the community, with many residents questioning whether Henyard can continue to lead amid such widespread controversy. Henyard's political career began with great promise. In 2021, she made history as Dolton's youngest and first Black female mayor, winning 82% of the vote in the general election. Her victory was celebrated as a groundbreaking moment for the village, and many residents were hopeful about her leadership. However, as time passed, her administration became mired in scandal, overshadowing any achievements she may have had. Henyard's bold and often controversial style has led some to compare her to fictional characters like Nino Brown, fueling the perception that her leadership is more theatrical than effective. Critics argue that her focus on maintaining a polished public image has come at the expense of addressing the real issues facing Dolton, including its financial struggles and governance challenges. As the scandals surrounding Mayor Henyard continue to unfold, calls for her resignation have intensified. Both residents and officials are demanding greater transparency and accountability, urging the board to take swift action to restore public trust. The Take Our Township Back demonstration reflects a community frustrated with what it sees as a lack of leadership and responsibility. While investigations into Henyard's financial practices and governance are ongoing, the future of her political career remains uncertain. Once a symbol of hope and progress, she now faces the real possibility of being remembered as a cautionary tale of ambition gone astray. For the residents of Dolton, the path to recovery will require not only addressing the immediate crisis, but also rebuilding the systems of accountability and trust that have been undermined during Henyard's tenure.
Show and not really show facts as it relates to what's really going on in our township.
And here we go, another contentious night for Tiffany Henyard at the annual Thornton Township meeting. Henyard is township supervisor, but tonight she was challenged by board members and the public. She was booed loudly at several points during tonight's meeting. Henyard said it's not fair for residents to ask so many questions in the township when she says they don't ask them.
The controversy surrounding Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has intensified as both residents and officials grow increasingly frustrated with her administration. Allegations of corruption, embezzlement, and misuse of taxpayer funds have sparked widespread outrage and fueled calls for her resignation. Public sentiment has soured significantly, with many labeling her administration as dishonorable and eagerly anticipating its collapse. Henyard's appointment as supervisor of Thornton Township also generated significant skepticism and criticism. After the death of the previous supervisor, Frank Zuccarelli, trustees were tasked with selecting a new leader within a 60-day window. This tight timeline caused confusion and division within the community. Henyard, the ninth candidate considered, was unexpectedly appointed, leading many to believe her selection was driven more by internal politics than by merit. Her tenure as supervisor quickly became contentious, with Henyard dismissing 2 employees within weeks of her appointment without providing clear justification. 2 employees, including Frank Zuccarelli's former executive assistant and a worker from the Human Resources Department, were abruptly dismissed by Henyard within weeks of her appointment as supervisor. These terminations fueled allegations that Henyard was using her new position to consolidate power rather than serve the community. In response, a judge issued a temporary restraining order barring Henyard from making unilateral appointments to township positions, including the chief of police, without trustee approval. This legal intervention underscored the growing tension between Henyard and the trustees, who were increasingly concerned about her leadership. One of the most significant sources of contention has been Henyard's alleged misuse of public funds for personal gain. Residents and officials accuse her of embezzling taxpayer money to finance personal projects, including renovations to her mother's home and her own mansion. These claims, coupled with reports of lavish spending on retreats and luxury services, have sparked outrage within the community. Trustees highlighted one particular instance where taxpayer funds were used for a retreat at the Eaglewood Resort, which included spa services, further fueling criticism of Henyard's financial management. While Mayor Henyard publicly condemned the spending and claimed to support more frugal retreats, critics argued that her actions have contradicted her statements. Instead of reducing unnecessary expenses, she allegedly continued to misuse township funds for personal indulgences. These actions have led to widespread distrust, with many residents feeling betrayed. Elderly citizens struggling to afford basic necessities have been particularly vocal in their criticism, with some calling for Henyard's immediate arrest during public comment sessions, citing the documented evidence of her financial misconduct. Henyard has consistently denied the allegations against her, even as the evidence continues to mount. In a recent interview with Fox 32, she refuted the claims of embezzlement, sparking heated debates among residents. Despite her denials, the community remains unconvinced, with many accusing her of prioritizing personal gain over the well-being of Dolton and Thornton Township. Her court appearances have drawn significant attention, further intensifying public scrutiny. At a recent hearing, Henyard defended her controversial nominations for various village positions, but the judge's restraining order highlighted the legal challenges she faces. Critics argue that her refusal to address these issues directly only deepens the public's disillusionment. Community's dissatisfaction with Henyard has reached a boiling point, as public demonstrations and rallies such as the Take Our Township Back movement demand greater accountability. Many residents feel deeply betrayed by Henyard's actions, viewing them as a blatant misuse of power and resources. Speakers at public events have been outspoken in their criticism, with one local resident labeling Henyard's administration as dishonorable and expressing hope for its eventual removal. Others have called for stronger legal action, stressing the importance of holding her accountable for alleged mismanagement and embezzlement. Henyard's apparent disregard for the concerns of her constituents has only fueled this growing anger. Henyard's absence from public discussions and her refusal to engage with critics have left many feeling ignored and disrespected. Residents have expressed frustration over her spending, especially as many in the community struggle to make ends meet. Once celebrated as a promising leader, Henyard's rapid decline in public standing has left the community disillusioned. When she first took office, there was hope she would bring progress and positive change to Dolton and Thornton Township, but her actions have shattered those expectations. The trustees have voiced regret over her appointment as supervisor, acknowledging the chaos it has caused within the community. Many believe her controversial rise to power, driven more by internal decisions than public votes, set the stage for the current turmoil. The lack of clear oversight has allowed Henyard to operate with minimal accountability, further eroding trust in local government. As the scandals surrounding Henyard continue to unfold, calls for her resignation have grown louder. Residents are demanding not only her removal from office, but also systemic reforms to ensure greater transparency and accountability in local governance. The trustees, who have consistently clashed with Henyard, now face the challenge of managing this crisis while addressing the deeper issues it has exposed. Restoring public trust will require decisive action, including comprehensive investigations into Henyard's financial dealings and the implementation of stronger oversight mechanisms. For now, Henyard remains defiant, insisting that the allegations against her are politically motivated. However, as public pressure intensifies and legal challenges persist, her ability to retain her position is increasingly in doubt. The people of Dolton and Thornton Township are determined to hold her accountable, marking a crucial moment in the ongoing struggle for justice and transparency.